Dr. Rubin from East West Healing and Performance. Today I want to talk to you about the foot. Now this might be for more of the trainer, but at the same time it is designed for everyone because a lot of you out there might have IT band syndrome. And this is super common. We're seeing it in runners and bikers, but we're also seeing lots of trainers and practitioners foam rolling their IT band or their TFL, which is on the side of the leg. We'll just keep it at that. And it has a lot of tension. We have to look at why is it there. It is the body's response to a stress. And what you see is a lot of people are so involved in foam rolling it. Well, the first problem is most people are foam rolling it incorrectly. The second problem is you're actually foam rolling the branch of a deeper rooted problem. It could be a problem in the foot. There's many bones in the foot. It could be a problem with the knee, the tibia, fibula, or femur, or ligaments in there. It could be an issue with the hip, which it commonly is, or even the spine or the cranium, or the C0, C1, C2, or the bones of the cranium. So we have to look at where it's coming from, because if you have to foam rolling it, we have to look at, well, is it really the problem? And it's typically not. So what I want to talk about is maybe one of the issues or areas of the body this could be coming from. Now, if you don't want to understand the anatomy part of it, you can actually scroll to the end of the video, and I'll talk about how this could be creating IT band syndrome. Well, let's look at the lateral aspect of the foot. The lateral aspect of the foot is what we call the longitudinal arch. It's a structural part of the foot, where the medial part of your foot is actually called the sensorial part of the foot. The lateral part of the foot is your calcaneus, your cuboid, and fifth metatarsal. The keystone bone of that is your cuboid bone. And that basically means keystone. You have a keystone to the medial arch and the transverse arch. But the keystone bones, it means it ensures support and integrity to the vault. The vault is that part of your foot. The vault is actually the pump or the diaphragm of the foot. Just like you have a diaphragm in your cranium, a diaphragm of the thoracic area, a diaphragm of the pelvis, you actually have a diaphragm in your foot. And I'll kind of talk about that. When we look at the foot or the cuboid or the calcaneus, this lateral arch, we have to think about the fibula. Now, every time you inhale, the foot essentially dorsiflex, meaning it goes like this. Okay? Bones actually move, and if you look at your cuboid and navicular bone, every time you inhale, they go like this. The cuboid externally rotates, the navicular internally rotates, and every time you exhale, the cuboid internally rotates, the navicular externally rotates. So every time you inhale, you actually pull in the plantar fascia. So if someone gets locked with a high cuboid and navicular, there's other things that be going on in the talocrural or subtalar joint, which is the tibia talus joint or the talus calcaneus joint. If someone gets locked in that high position, it pulls in the plantar fascia, which causes plantar fasciitis. So a lot of times it's an issue with those bones and the respiratory mechanism, not so much the fascia itself. That's why you can keep rolling it, and it really does nothing. So back to the issue at hand here. So every time you dorsiflex or inhale, while that's happening with your cuboid navicular bone, your fibular bone, which is the lateral aspect here, every time you inhale or dorsiflex with the respiratory mechanism, your fibula will actually, it goes posterior, it'll actually elevate slightly and internally rotate. Now keep in mind, these are very small movements. I'm exaggerating them. So it's going to go posterior, it actually goes, ascends and internally rotates every time you inhale. And every time you exhale or plantar flex, right, your cuboid navicular come down to normal. The fibula is actually going to descend, go anterior, and externally rotate. So think about that. That's the actual energetic pump of your foot. Or we could say the foot diaphragm. It actually, pumps the vault and the bones of the foot. Now, we're keeping it very simple, as simplistic as we can, because there's other bones of the foot, like your metatarsals, the three cuneiforms. We're not talking too much about the calcaneus, and that's super important when we're talking about this, because your calcaneus, your talus, cuboid navicular, they're all part of a mechanism. But the bottom line is this. Let's say you have IT band syndrome. Well, think about it. If these two bones, we're just talking about those two bones, cuboid navicular bone, make sure I'm on them right there. If they're locked, right, so you inhale and exhale. Let's say those bones are locked in exhalation. Let's say your foot is blocked in a plantar flexion. You have an issue with the talocrural joint, which is basically where dorsiflexion and plantar flexure happen, which is the talus and your tibia. So let's say your foot is locked in that position because it can't dorsiflex. Well, what's going to happen? Going back to what I said, you're actually going to get a tension on the fibula. The fibula is going to be pulled down, it's going to go anterior, and it's going to externally rotate. And if it gets pulled down, we'll just simplify it. If the fibula gets pulled down, on the top part of the fibula, that's where the TFL, or we could say the IT band, actually inserts. So if the foot is locked in plantar flexion and your cuboid bone is locked in an internal rotation, it's going to pull the fibula down, put tension on the IT band, and create IT band syndrome. So you're there rolling out your IT band, trying to get it to work better. But the funny thing is actually it's elongated in a top position. It's developing tension and trigger points secondary to a stress, but the stress is actually happening in the foot. So hopefully you've learned something, that the body is a system of systems, and usually where the problem is, unless it's trauma, it's coming from somewhere else. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll check you later.